Hey, welcome back to Unity TV. Before we get to today's guest, a quick reminder that Unity Open Trials are coming on Thursday, December 28th, and Thursday, January 4th. If you're interested in attending, reserve your spot today. Details are in the description. Now let's get to today's guest. She's a forward from Kamloops, BC, has played for TRU, then to become an assistant coach, and was your number 22 for Unity FC this season. Let's catch up with Alanna Bekkering. Joining me now is Alanna Bekkering, who was their number 22 for Unity FC. Welcome very much, Alanna, to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start off for you, growing up in BC and your experience of playing football, your childhood and growing up. Talk about that whole experience for you and how you fell in love with the game.
So I grew up in Kamloops, BC, and during my time there was a core group of us from 10 till 18 that played together our entire, 8 or 9 years. We were called the Magic, and we were a very tight-knit group. And it's not the same as it used to be now. Youth teams there's so many different divisions, but we were lucky enough that our group, we stayed together, and our coach at the time used to be the coach of a team that is now in Kamloops Hall of Fame. So he ran our program as young kids very, very well and very diligently. So we had our trainer, we had our conditioning coach, we had just everything. And at 10 years old, some people would be like, whoa, take it easy. And sometimes as a teenager, I would look back and be like, whoa, take it easy as well. But looking back now at 33, I can only have high regards for him. I think that was I got my skill because of him at such a young age. And then there was a select few of us that would go on to play Y League in Kamloops and Kelowna, Vernon. The three cities would come together and we'd play in the top division. And then at, I think about 16, I got asked to play the Whitecaps program, which was a huge honor for me. So 16, 17, I went down and played Whitecaps, but there was some family dynamic for me. So it was difficult for me to travel down to Vancouver all the time. So I had to unfortunately give that road up, and I came back to Kamloops, and I played my high school years out, played youth again. And then I went on to post-secondary school.
You talk about a lot of the great experiences you've had, a lot of people will be able to influence you and really build up your skill at a very young age. You talked about even the Magic, just the young core that you had. Maybe talk about your biggest memory. You talked a few already, but what is the one thing that stood out to you through your youth that really is this is when I decide I want to try to do this for a living?
That's a hard one for me to answer because my family, I come from a family of 5 girls, and a couple of my older sisters, my 2 oldest played competitively basketball and soccer, but my second oldest sister, Stacy, she played very competitively. She got asked to play on the provincial team. She went on a full ride to UTEP. So for me, that was just what I was born into. I was born and raised on the soccer field, being towed around and around. People always say, that second kid syndrome. Well, I was 5th kid syndrome. So I was literally always on the soccer field, always on the basketball courts, literally on every single sports available. Volleyball, my middle sister played volleyball competitively. So I just knew that I wanted to play a sport competitively. Soccer was my most social thing. Even my closest friends now that I met when I was 10 years old, they are my closest people in life. And so I feel like that at 10 years old, pretty much. And then growing up until I don't have an exact memory. It's just those friendships that I built were huge. But I guess my youth team, John Moon, every 50th game, we would always play Kelowna United, and we'd always all go as a group and get this big ice cream cake at our 50th game. And it wasn't even like that close into the season that we would have already played 50 games, and we would all celebrate. And I just remember being like, whoa, if this is what a team is, like these big celebrations, like tiny little celebrations, but are made huge. I want this forever. I want every big memory to be this. This is what I live and dream. So yeah, I don't have an exact soccer moment, but off the field moments that I just have always built me up to be the person that I am.
Well, you mentioned about like having fifth child syndrome. For me, being as young as a 6, I definitely relate to that. Every player has different style of football they always like to play, what position they like to play. What position do you specifically enjoy playing on the field?
It's funny because I played so much up front this year, but I do really love outside mid. I enjoy creating. I kind of have been a goal scorer, but that's never been my kind of go-to. I've always been one to be able to cross and assist goals. I probably have more assists in my career than I do finishing, and that makes me happy. I enjoy setting somebody up for success, if that makes sense. So I wish I could play outside mid. Unfortunately, coming off a 5-year hiatus, with having children, I'm not in that shape that I used to be. So up front is a lot of work as well, but it's a litof more forgiving.
You've mentioned already like how you were part of the Whitecaps Academy. You came back to Kelowna, kind of went through high school. You also made the transition with college to go TRU, being part of the Wolfpack. Talk about that whole journey for you, because you were part of had a great journey through that process for a couple of years.
Yeah, my first year I actually spent at UVic, and I had a great time with Tracy. But overall, again, family aspects, I needed to get home. So I went home for TRU in my second year, and I had already built a relationship with the head coach at that time, Tom McManus. So I felt confident of being able to get a spot on the team, but I knew that I was going to have to work hard for it. We ended up having a very successful year. But like I said, with our youth team, there was a handful of us that still played TRU. I would probably say, I think there was about 6 of us in total that were the starting 11. So that is a huge, 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 huge advantage to some teams. I always say skill will get you far, but chemistry will get you farther. So I played my final years with TRU, and we were very successful. We were Pac West champs multiple years in a row. We made nationals. Of my total 5 years of university, including UVic, I went 4 times, and all of which we did quite well. Never a championship, but we always had the hiccups there, but it's okay.
You even had the opportunity a couple years later in 2018, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you even became assistant coach for TRU. What kind of brought that about, and maybe even talk about your experience of being a coach for that year?
Yeah, I forget now. I think that my first year coaching was with Kelly Chance. I obviously wasn't done being playing soccer or being involved with soccer. And unfortunately, Kamloops in the interior doesn't have a lot of post-secondary competition. And I was already well into my career at that time, and I thought Kamloops was going to be our forever home. We had bought a house by that time, like we had built roots, so I wasn't going anywhere. Soccer at that time wasn't huge on the professional side of things or agents, and I didn't know how to go about that. So I thought the next best thing would be for coaching. And I do love the sport. I love coaching. I love teaching. I've always, even in my career now, I plan to do education. But so I did the coaching aspect of it, and I loved it, and I stayed with the team, and it was really, really nice. although being young and coaching was hard because some of my players that I played with, it was hard to build that relationship. Although they did always see me kind of as a leader on the team, it was hard to transition into the coach role and separate that friendship into coach. So, but I did enjoy that. And then I continued on. And then when Mark Pennington took it over, I reached out to him again because I do really like coaching, and I was coaching alongside him for a year until my husband's job transferred us to Kelowna, and then Kelowna to Vancouver. So I had to give up my coaching part of it. I was involved with the Whitecaps Academy as well in Kamloops. My husband and I took on that role with John Antelov, and it was really fun. I think the little kids are where I'm at. As much as I love the college aspect of it, I had too much, as they say, FOMO. Coaching them. I always wanted to play and not actually coach.
We hear that sometimes a lot from players who are just not ready to give up their career yet. Speaking of your career, you also had the opportunity to be part of Unity this past year. Talk about how your journey from coming into UFC.
Yeah, so my first year in League One, I played at Rivers because my husband and I were transferring from Kelowna to Vancouver, and I was touching base sometimes when my in-laws live in Kamloops. So it was just an easy little spot for me to be in Kamloops, and then they found out that I was living there part-time in part-time Vancouver. So really they needed an extra player, so I hopped in with them. And then Eva Rodriguez, who also played Rivers at that time, we built a good friendship and found out that I was moving to Vancouver. She played on Surrey United Premier. So she asked if I wanted to join and do a tryout. So I ended up joining Surrey United. And then from there, Brenda Stratton, who was the assistant coach this year, asked me if I would be interested in playing when she found out that I wasn't picked up from another team. I had been picked up from another team, but I hadn't committed to another team yet. So she reached out to Graham and Rob, and then everything kind of spiraled that way. And then I joined the team, and I was quite honored. I didn't know if I would be good enough for Unity. I always have kept Trinity as the highest praise, coming from playing for UVic and being in a national final or a national game with them and going to PKs. I always had this 18-year-old, oh my God, Trinity is the best. We have to beat them. And it's always stayed that way. So I was quite honored that Unity would bring me onto their team with my 18-year-old mindset.
Well, it seemed like you were a big part of the team. You played 9 games with 658 minutes. You're a consistent player for UFC this year. Talk about your experience this year. Like, you even had an opportunity to score against Rivers this past season.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to do that at home in front of everybody. I beat myself up, obviously, as a player. You beat yourself up more than you can praise yourself. Just that's the competitive side in me. So the goal that I scored was quite a nice goal, but I also missed a lot of other chances that I don't give myself too many praises on that. But my season with Unity was great. I was more than fortunate with that team. They were so welcoming. I truly, honestly didn't think that I was going to get to play very much. I thought that I was just going to be a training player. And that's just because of my 5-year hiatus of having kids. I haven't played competitively. I just started with Rivers, so not this season, but last, so 2022. I don't have as much confidence nearly that I did when I was younger. I was just happy to be involved in the program. So for them to see that confidence in me and give me those praises was amazing. It really built me up.
You even had a unique experience because you were part of the Whitecaps as well, even as a trainer, but also as a player. When the women's side of Unity FC went to BC Place for the final, you even had an opportunity to play on the pitch for that game. Talk about that whole experience, because that, for you specifically, must have so much sentimental value for that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Obviously, it was hard because I have a competitive edge in me, but I'm playing with these girls that are 16 and 17. So for me to go hard into tackles, it really gets me because I just instantly think of injuries and being a nurse. It's just a bad time right now. So my competitive edge is still there, but going hard into tackles is hard, really, really challenging for me because I want these girls, these young Whitecaps girls, to fulfill those dreams that I had when I was their age. Oh God. But being at BC Place was huge. It was very surreal. I took my kids, my husband and I took our kids to see the Whitecaps LAFC game this past Saturday. And the whole time they just kept being like, Mom, you played here? I'm like, I did. That's huge. It was awesome. I loved it. It was a huge opportunity for me.
There's even one moment I actually remember specifically for you that you actually were about to go into the net and actually the goalkeeper stopped it and it hit off the goalpost. And it was like a very surreal moment. I remember seeing that. And I think maybe walk you through that if you recall that moment for you, that experience during that game.
I thought that hit was going on for sure. It just felt nice. It came off my boot nice, but obviously I didn't go in. But I do, the echo of the crossbar in that stadium is something else. So that's something that I won't forget because it's a different ting than just a normal grass field. And everybody just, oh, yeah. I wish I remembered the buildup of that, but I definitely remember the ting off the corner of the crossbar there.
There's a lot of life lessons that people have learned either on the pitch or off the pitch being with Unity, or in just soccer and life. What was the big one that you kind of took away from being part of Unity this year?
I think just commitment with the girls. It was extremely humbling to see everybody, the girls that go to Trinity, continue over the summer to be a part of their program and into Unity. Obviously, I keep on saying Trinity, but everybody kind of, Rivers obviously is TRU, Natsima is UBC's kind of summer team everywhere. So I know it is Unity, but obviously a part of it, they filter more Trinity girls. But these girls put so much time and energy into the program, and the program being Unity, but in the background still in the summer is to build up their university team. So I respected that a lot because, again, reflecting back when you're 18 to, what is it, like 24 that you play, 24, 25, some players if you redshirt. It's, I guess, 23. It's a lot. You go through a huge time commitment and a huge, I guess, life movement in a way. And you just, the fact that they're giving up their summers and they're still committed and they're still working and they're doing their training and their extracurriculars for Trinity, it made me want to work hard for them. Here I was just wanting to play a summer league to keep in shape and meet some new girls, and they're going to the gym. They're doing their morning lift, they call it, every morning and talking about it at training. And here I'm like, I lifted my kids. It was a humbling experience. Their commitment to their soccer program overall is huge, and I couldn't say better things for them.
There's always advice for players that have gone through different experiences, whether it be with Unity or with other programs or what they've gone through their career, that sticks out to them that they wish they told themselves when they were 18, 19-year-old. What would be the biggest advice you would say to either current players or even future Unity FC players that come down the pipeline?
I just have to say, enjoy it, put in the work, because when it's over, it's over. And it's a huge part of our life that you will never forget. And those friendships are huge. Those relationships are huge. And the harder you work and you work for everybody on your team, is just such good life skills, and it will bring you into your career, whatever you decide, bring you into your life, whether it's personal, like husband, wife type thing. That commitment and that dedication is always a part of your life. So put in the work now, because later on it'll be easier with whatever whatever you decide in life.
You've already mentioned like being part in Kamloops and Kelowna, the challenges of trying to go to the next level in your local neighborhoods. When there's no professional or even semi-pro level, it can be challenging where you feel like you have to move away. You have to go to a farther away, whether it be Vancouver or even to another province or another country. How important is it to have Unity part of Township of Langley?
I think it's huge. Like I said, after TRU, there's nothing. I went on to coaching. So obviously now that there's Rivers, but going on from Trinity and then going on to a successful team like Unity is huge. That's, obviously, like the women's prime is your mid-20s, later 20s, and you're just finishing up. When you finish your varsity soccer career, your varsity athletics, you're only just beginning. So to be able to have a team like Unity that is very successful, it is a dedicated program, it's a competitive program to filter you into hopefully what will come into either a professional side in Canada, or if you're lucky, if we're lucky to have Canada, and if you're even luckier to go across seas and play professionally. I think it's huge to have something local, and there's teams. I think they're very, very, very lucky, and I would have. My husband and I talk about it all the time. I wish that these were the experiences that we got as young adults, but I'm very happy for the kids and the young adults that are coming out of the programs.
Well, we're really happy and lucky to have you part of Unity this year, and we're also glad to have you on this show. Real quick before we let you go, every player has his own either player or club they cheer for, whether it be for the local Whitecaps or now Vancouver FC, even clubs in Europe. Do you have a certain player or club that you like to cheer for as a fan?
I truly will always be a TRU fan. We not only because my husband and I both graduated from there, but we have put so much time and energy. My husband also was the assistant coach for TRU, so it is and that's how we met. It's a huge part of our life. No matter how well they do, how poorly they do, we will always be Wolfpack fans.
Well, we're glad that you are very passionate about being part of Wolfpack fans, but also we're glad that you were part of Unity this year. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw, give it a big old thumbs up for us. And make sure to follow us on our other socials right here. See you next time.